How's it going, everyone? Bass here. What a rough game yesterday. Packers losing 27-22 in London against the New York Giants. So let's do what we do every week, go into the PFF grades, break them down, and go over them. And I'm actually quite surprised the Packers have a few high-graded players in this game, more than I would expect, considering the result and how the Packers played in that second half. But in general, there are definitely some bad grades as well. And of course, if you are new here and want more Packers news analysis and updates every single day, go down, click that subscribe button, as well as turn on post notifications to not miss any of the videos. Also, just a quick reminder, I am still giving away this Christian Watson signed Packers helmet throughout the end of October. So if you want to enter in this giveaway, go to pristineauction.com, register on their website using code BASS, B-A-S. That'll enter you in the giveaway, as well as give you a free $10 voucher site credit. All right, so without further ado, let's bring up the screen here, and we're going to start on the offense here. The offense looked great in the first half. A lot of quick fire plays, quick fire offense. And, they went up by 10 points in the first half. And then in the second half, they really did nothing. But if we start at the top here, there's actually 3 players with an 80-plus grade. We see Elton Jenkins with an 85.7. Definitely a really good game by Elton Jenkins. The past few games have not been too good from Elton. This game was a good game from him. Then we see Randall Cobb, 83.7, probably his best game this year as well. John Runyon, 82.7. Then we see Josiah DeGuara had a 74.0 and an 87.9 receiving grade. Josiah DeGuara, I think he had 2 or 3 receptions. I thought he played really well. He made some good blocks around the edge. And in general, it was only 9 snaps, but in those 9 snaps, he did have a good grade. Aaron Jones, a 71.3, including an 81.7 pass block grade. We have Yosh Neimanier, who filled in 38 total snaps, comparative to David Bakhtiari's 25 snaps. So we saw more Yosh Newman than we did Bakhtiari, which was a little weird because last week Bakhtiari played mostly all of the snaps, so I don't know what happened, whether that was the long plane travel with the pressure in his knee and whatnot. I have no idea, but obviously something happened there. Yosh Nyman had a 68.8 and an 85.9 pass block grade. Mercedes Lewis, a 68.6. Royce Newman, a 67.9. Tyler Davis, a 65.6, including a 27.9 pass block grade. Robert Tonyan, a 62.8. Alan Lazard, 62.6. Romeo Doubs, 62.5. But Romeo Doubs had an 89.6 run block grade. And that's something I've been seeing from him ever since he has been playing on the Packers and basically got pushed into that starting role. His run blocking is phenomenal, and that will definitely keep him on the field. Obviously, Alan Lazard is a great run blocker, and Romeo Doubs did a really good job yesterday in terms of run blocking, so he'll definitely stay on the field. They need to use him more in the receiving game in general. A.J. Dillon, a 62.3. Aaron Rodgers, a 60.2. Josh Myers, 60.1. Bakhtiari, a 59.4, which included an 80.0 pass block grade, but a 58.7 run block grade. Amari Rodgers only had 1 snap, and then Christian Watson, the lowest graded player on offense, with a 55.7. I wanted to quickly go into the depth passing chart again because this is just a reoccurring theme. If we look at this chart here, Aaron Rodgers, again, didn't complete a single pass 20-plus yards. 0 for 2 on the right side, 0 for 3 on the left side. Intermediate, 10-plus, he was 3 for 4 up the middle, 1 for 1 on the right. And then if we look at, between the line of scrimmage and 10 yards, 2 for 4 on the right, 4 for 4 in the middle, 6 for 8 on the left, and then behind the line of scrimmage, the screen game, which he went 8 for 8 on. It's hard not to complete those, and they worked really well against the Giants. I don't know why they didn't do it more. 2 for 2, 6 for 6, and 1 for 1 there on the left. And this, like I said, has just been a reoccurring theme. The Packers' inability to create shot plays. They really don't throw deep, and if they do, it's always incomplete. Aaron Rodgers has been really off on his deep ball this year. I don't know if it's the receivers being at the wrong depth, running the wrong, stem on their routes. I have no idea, but it seems like every time there's a slot fade or a deep route or anything of that sort, of 9 route on the outside, Aaron Rodgers is really off the mark trying to hit that wide receiver. The one deep post to Romeo Doubs where it was called PI, I think it was illegal contact. I think that would have been a perfect throw and a touchdown if he didn't get illegal contact at the top of the route. So obviously that's a little bit of a hindsight there, but in general, the deep game just has not looked good for the Packers, and I think that's a big problem with their offense and why it's struggling so much. Their inability to create shot plays, go deep, and find receivers deep, and complete passes deep. Now we're quickly going to go over the pass blocking grades for this offensive line. Jon Runyan was the best pass blocker yesterday with an 87.4. He allowed 0 pressures, 0 sacks, 0 hits, 0 hurries. Probably his best game of the year. Jon Runyan looked great yesterday. Yosh Nyman, again, another good game and played more than David Bakhtiari. 85.9 pass block grade, 0 sacks, 0 pressures. Elton Jenkins also, like I said, a really good game. 82.6 pass block grade, 0 sacks, 0 pressures. The Packers did a good job at protecting Aaron Rodgers. I mean, he only got sacked twice in this game, and it wasn't that big of an issue. But then again, the Packers often were getting the ball out of his hands very quickly, and when they weren't, the Packers were struggling. So that's also something to be said there. David Bakhtiari, an 80.0 pass block grade, didn't allow a sack, but did allow 1 pressure. Then if we go down to Royce Newman, the reoccurring theme of a lot of pressures, he had a 57.0 pass block grade, allowed 1 sack, 4 pressures, 2 hits, and 1 hurry. So, I'm not too sold on Royce Newman at this point. It seems like this is a reoccurring theme where it's like anytime Aaron Rodgers is pressured and has to abandon a play or abandon a read, it's because Royce Newman is on the ground. So I think something needs to get figured out, and I think they're kind of just waiting for David Bakhtiari to be 100% ready to go. Then they could put Yosh Nyman at right tackle and slide Elton Jenkins into right guard. I think that would be a much better offensive line group, but as of right now, with David Bakhtiari not being able to play a full game, I get it. They can't just throw Yosh Nyman in at right tackle and say, hey, we'll see if David Bakhtiari can play, because then if he gets hurt or can't play, it ruins the entire continuity. And I missed one with Josh Myers here. He had a 74.4, also allowed 0 sacks and 0 pressure, so also a solid game from him. All right, so now moving on to the defensive side of the ball. At the top here, Preston Smith was the highest graded player on defense for the Packers, 84.6. Devondre Campbell had a good grade, an 80.9. I think that's his highest graded game of the year so far. Kenny Clark is 77.9. I expected him to be higher. Kenny Clark was a absolute beast in this game. That first drive, I think back-to-back really nice plays by him. Jarran Reed, also a really nice game, 72.8. Rashawn Gary, a 71.2. Kingsley Enagbare had 18 snaps and a 70.7. I think it was one of the plays where they threw to Saquon Barkley, and Enagbare basically chased him to the sideline and showed really nice speed in pursuit there. I liked what I saw from him. Adrian Amos, a 66.8. John Garvin, 63.6. Jair Alexander, 63.5. If we go down to TJ Slayton, a 61.1, a 24.3 tackle grade. Now, I think it's because he was in the backfield and kind of missed a couple arm tackles, but he was, disrupting plays in my opinion. And I think he should have a higher than a 61.1 here. And I'm going to skip over all the 1-snap players here and then go down to Dean Lowry here. Then we start getting into the real low grades on this defense for this game, because that second half defense was atrocious. The first half defense I thought looked really good. Held the Giants to 10 points, multiple drives, 3 and outs, really fast, ferocious, attacking the ball. Then the second half, the soft zone comes around. The Giants decide how to beat it, throwing across the middle on these crosser routes, just like every other team this season so far, and beating the Packers doing so. Dean Lowry, a 46.8. Eric Stokes, a 43.6. Definitely his worst game of the season. Quay Walker, a 35.4. Rasul Douglas, a 33.2. Probably his worst game as well. Committed those 3 penalties that really hurt the Packers. And then the last worst graded player on this Packers defense this week was Darnell Savage with a 30.7. Quickly going into pass rushing on the defense in terms of pressures and sacks, we see Preston Smith with 4 pressures and 1 sack. Rashawn Gary had 3 pressures and 0 sacks. Jarran Reed, 3 pressures and 1 sack. Kenny Clark, 3 pressures. TJ Slayton, Dean Lowry, and Adrian Amos all with 1 pressure. Finally, nice to see a safety with a pressure here. Joe Barry finally, for once in his life, brought a safety down and blitzed him. So at least that worked, as we could see. Adrian Amos had a hit and a pressure. I thought that was him when I saw that play happen. I was like, did he really bring a safety down? That was the case. We need to see more of that, more diverse packages in terms of pressures, but we'll see exactly what happens. But the Packers did a good job pressuring, and honestly would have 2 more sacks. They only had 2. They would have 2 more, because they did get 2 more sacks where there was holding on Darnell Savage and Rasul Douglas on each of those. So they gotta stop that as well. The Packers would have had 4 sacks here and maybe even won the game, because both of those sacks were deep in the Giants' territory, real drive killers, and obviously it was an automatic first down instead of a sack. That can completely change a drive and can completely change a game. And to finish up on defense, let's finally look into the coverage stats. Eric Stokes allowed 5 receptions on 5 targets for 70 yards and a 118.8 passer rating. Darius Slayton was tearing him apart, and it was a zone, so when Darius Slayton was coming into that crosser zone, I guess he got attributed to, okay, Eric Stokes is covering him. There was a few times there where he's running a quick slant, and Eric Stokes simply just got beat, but I believe he was in cover 3 outside shade, so I can't really blame him too much, but it was not a good day for Eric Stokes. Not trying to give excuses for him here. Devondre Campbell, 4 receptions on 5 targets, only for 11 yards. That screams Devondre Campbell stats there. 2.8 yards per reception. That's nothing to worry about there. Jair Alexander allowed 4 receptions on 4 targets for 44 yards and 112.5 passer rating. Not a good game from him, but a lot of the times you saw this practice squad receiver for the Giants out wide and Jair Alexander 12 yards off the ball, and the practice squad player runs a quick curl, catches the ball, Jair makes a bad angle, he gains 12 yards. It's like, why are you doing this? You have an all-pro cornerback, one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL, and you're sitting him 12 yards off a practice squad wide receiver. It makes 0 sense to me. I don't know why we keep seeing that, but hey, we just keep seeing it. Then we see Quay Walker only allowing 2 receptions on 3 targets. He did allow a 57.5. He did have a 57.5 coverage grade, but those were for 46 yards, so 23 yards per reception, and that likely got attributed to the middle crossers, him being out of his position. And I saw one of them where there's 2 crossers coming across the middle. Devondre Campbell and Quay Walker should have switched, stayed home, and then followed the crossers as they crossed. He didn't. He tried following the one all the way through, and he left his zone wide open on the left side there. So that's definitely why one of them was completed and why that's a 23.0 yards per reception. Not a good game by him. Darnell Savage allowed 2 receptions on 3 targets for 28 yards. And then we have Rasul Douglas, 2 receptions on 2 targets, only for 7 yards there. Amos, 1 reception on 2 targets, and Kingsley Enagbare, 1 reception on 1 target. I mean, if you see here, they made Darius Slayton look like Justin Jefferson. He had an 89.6 grade, 6 receptions, 7 targets, 79 yards. They just did not cover him, and they're in a soft zone, so the dude was just running wide open across the middle of the defense, so there's not much to say there. Jair let a catch on him, Stokes let 3, Rasul let 1, and Darnell let 1 there for that total of 79 yards. But that about does it for the PFF grades for this Week 5 game. That loss versus the New York Giants, a really, really tough loss. Going into half up 10, all you really got to do is run the football. And I know it's easier said than done, but it seems time and time again, every single time a defense puts a man in the box and pretty much says, okay, we want you to pass on us, the Packers just, okay, we're not going to run it anymore. We'll just force pass. And I don't think that should be the case. I think they should stick with what's working, which is Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon, and force the defense to stop them. Doesn't matter what you put in the box. Vince Lombardi ran this power sweep, and he pretty much said, hey, well, stop it. I don't care who you're putting in the box. And I know that's a whole different type of football. But my point is, if you're good and really good on one aspect of football, you're going to keep doing that until it doesn't work. Not just don't do it because the defense looks like they could stop it. Make them stop it. And the Packers need to figure this out. I think they need to run the ball way more. Aaron Jones is number 1 in yards per carry, yet I think 19th in carries. It's just ridiculous. Forcing passing, 3 straight passes multiple times after your defense was on the field for 8 minutes. And then the next drive, you're on the field, the offense for 36 seconds and put your defense right back out there because 3 incomplete passes. Just not ideal at all. This definitely needs to get figured out. The continuity on this team right now is just not good. But that about does it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, please leave a like down below. But I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching. And as always, go Pack Go.